heard it say it was recording.
I'd like to call this regular meeting, City of Durango, 6:00. We'll start with roll call
Mayor Pro Tem Sofia,
here.
Councilmember Smith,
Present.
Councilmember Lewis,
Present.
Councilmember McClellan,
Present.
Councilmember Devine.
Okay, that report, let's stand and do the pledge of
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy forum. First item is approval of minutes from May 12th and May 25th. And you have those in your packet. Your packet is color coded this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May the 2nd and May the 26th, 2020 meetings.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do we have a second?
Could I ask a question here before we do this?
Sure.
On item number 3, this is on the first sheet. Something about Will Dave to include the duties of city administrator. Wasn't that office administrator?
Interim city administrator.
You are correct, it was office administrator.
I think it was office administrator.
Okay. Interim office administrator,
Right.
item 3. Okay.
I'd like to amend my motion
Okay,
to make that correction.
we have an amended motion. Do we have a second? And a second from Mr. Biden. We have a motion. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? All righty. Next item is announcements, no real announcements, the COVID-19 holiday and our numbers seem to be holding steady, and our county's doing pretty good, so that's real good considering we opened up a few things and doing good. Another thing I want to bring y'all's attention is we had an interim chief start last week, so he's retired from Terrell Hills. They're at San Antonio, so he's working with us for a few months and helping us with the process of hiring a new chief. So he will be here for at least 2 months, maybe a little bit further, depending on how long that takes. The other thing I'd like to comment or announce is we are working on a complaint process. I know, that's an issue in the past, and one of the things we want to do is have a formal way to make complaints, and Will's been working on that, so we're hoping to have that by next meeting so that you can either go to the city website or come into City Hall, do an official complaint, and it will get, dispersed to the proper people, and won't, nothing will get swept under the law, hear about it, and all those complaints will come to City Council so that we can, hear them. So, be patient with us on that. We are working on that and hope to have something, but in the meantime, if there are any complaints or anything that y'all want to talk about, feel free to reach out to any of these council members, or I'm open at any time to talk to anybody about anything, so, please give us a holler. With that being said, I don't have any more announcements, and I'll open it up for public comments, so these limited to the 3 minutes. You know, we are gonna have a public hearing related to the post office subdivision, so to me, this would be anything outside of that, so if we have any public comments, but I don't think that. Sorry, Peggy, I'm ready to beat you. No, ready to-
You want to go first? Okay. Everything's new since I've been here. And I was realizing I put the historic meeting, got caught up on all the new seating and everything. I'm Retta Martin, and I'm with the executive director and acting chair of Keep Blanco Beautiful. And we started when I retired from the state controllers office in 1999. And this was my hometown, and it was trashed out real bad, and junk cars everywhere, and refrigerators and stoves and all kinds of things all over the place. And so I got on the city council where y'all are sitting, and Luann Hayes was our mayor, and I looked at her and I said, you know, I think we had an agenda to clean up Blanco, and she looked at me and she said, will you take it? And I said, yeah, I'll take it. And we searched around because we couldn't find a way to clean it up and make it work. And so it took about a year, or about 6 months, and we tried different things, and finally I heard about Keep America Beautiful, Keep Texas Beautiful, and so contacted them, and we became affiliates of Keep Texas Beautiful. And so every year, starting in 2000, we have had a trash off day, and then several years later, along with the trash off days, and Don't Mess with Texas, Keep Blanco Beautiful Trash Off Day. We started the river cleanup, Blanco River Cleanup. So this year would have been our 21st annual Trash Off Day and 13th annual river cleanup. But thanks to the virus, we called it off. We had our t-shirts ordered and everything, so we postponed it. 2 years, when we started, the city joined us 2 years later to partner and bring the city into it, and not just Keep Blanco Beautiful. So the city is part of it now too. And I talked to Ronnie, or emailed him the other day, and we needed to get together because we're talking about this at this point. When are we going to have this? Because now it's loosened up, but it's also hot as Hades out there. So we're trying to come up with a date, and I don't know if you have a suggestion, but we'll talk about that later.
It's coming, it's one of the.
Yeah, and so we've always kept it together. We've put it on, and they bring in all the roll-offs and their people, the city people, and we bring all the students and all the families that walk up and down the streets, and we make the hot dogs and the drinks and everything. So it will be in the paper, or it will be announced to y'all, I'm sure, beforehand, when we get the right time. And so hopefully it may be in the fall. Last year we did have a fall sweep too, besides our April one. But the reason we did it in April always was so that we would be a part of the national. The national one is all together. But anyway, we'll probably do that, and we'll see. Everybody gets to volunteer. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts.
I want my trailer back.
Do you have
I
to
pulled the trailer up for this last one and then it got canceled.
Oh,
I don't want to unload it until I.
okay, well, you want to get it on this week.
All right, next we have, Peggy Vanderbilt.
Hi, my name is Peggy Huckleberry-Hill, and I'm a lifetime resident and business owner in Blanco. My family has been in Blanco County for 135 years, and we've had land in Blanco for the past 90. I've lived on my family land for 37 years, so my roots are very deeply planted in Blanco. And I strongly disagree with the development of the Los Altos subdivision. The builder's going to put too many houses in just a 2-block area. My understanding city code is 4 houses per each acre. This lot he's doing is 4.14 acres, which means he should have 16 houses. There's already 1 house on there. So I'm thinking 15 is more appropriate. If city codes were developed for the best interest of our town, and why should people all alone and everybody else have if this concept is able to go through, I feel like somebody else will come along somewhere else and try to build the same thing, and it might be across from your house. I forgot to mention that my house is right across the street from his development he wants to do. The builder also has for 0 lot lines, which means houses are building right on top of each other. And this is not allowed per city code, I understand also. So why should he have 0 lot lines when everybody else, if they want to build something, they have to stay within 5 feet off their property line? You know, same rules apply to everybody, you know, everybody else. And does Mr. Elizondo even live in Blanco? Does he? I don't know. Yeah.
He does.
Well, this plan is no privacy at all between the houses. If you see it, it's house, driveway, house, driveway, house, driveway. There's no room in between the houses, and people move to Blanco to get away from everybody. They don't want to be on top of everybody else. He also mentioned this concept worked in Buda, Kyle, and Georgetown. Well, I don't want our small town to become Buda, Kyle, and Georgetown. I want our little sweet, charming town to stay the way it is. The hill country is known for wide open spaces. There's also a lot of traffic on Mesquite, where these 2 streets come with the school, and adding all these houses will have more traffic and congestion with the street. P&Z suggested doing one-ways on 11th and 12th, which I don't think is nice. I mean, I live on there. I've been driving in that same road for 27 years. I don't think I should have to go down. Plus, it also puts more attention on Green Lawn. So if everybody has to exit Green Lawn, then that's going to be more, traffic on there. Also on his plan, it said he's only going to cut down 12 trees. I highly disagree with that. There's a lot of trees that's going to have to be cut down. I have a more clear aerial shot. Yes, I didn't bring it up with me, but more trees. Can I just talk a little bit longer? Okay. Thank you. There's a lot of lots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, and 13 that show no trees on the lot on his concept. But if you look on the aerial, there are already trees on there. They also suggested that he plant 2 trees. Well, there's tons of trees on there. If he was not allowed to build so many trees on his development, we would have to cut down some trees. And our Historical and Preservation Society worked very hard to keep our small town small and charming. Allowing him to do this would be devastating to our town, in my opinion. I understand development, but I believe it needs to be within city code. And I would ask you to please take more time in consideration and do what's best for our small town and when you make your decision. I also had a petition going around, and I brought stuff for all of y'all yesterday. I also have more names that I was going to pass off for y'all today, if you would allow me that. And there's still, as we were driving over here, more people were signing up on the petition. And thank you very much for my 4 or 5 minutes, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you. And thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else with public comments?
No.
So with that, we will close the regular meeting and open up the public hearing to discuss the Broncos plan development at 6:14. So does anybody else have any other comments on the Los Altos for the public hearing? Hey, you do everything? You have another forum now to talk on the public hearing part, so if there's anything else you want to say,
Yeah.
you got it all? Okay.
I hope I can.
Alrighty. So if we have nothing else for the public hearing, then we will close the public hearing at, you can't hear me? Oh, no need. We will close the public hearing at 6:15 and go back into the regular meeting. So there is nothing on the consent agenda. We have, item number 1 is going to be the budget reports. And so Will's been working on the budget. Bless his heart.
It's not perfect yet. Good evening. Really, I put it together so that you could look at the summary and get the high points, know where we're at, where we stand today. It still needs a lot of work. Not all the numbers are great. Some of them are very great. I am open to questions, but all the documentation is supported in the back for each individual department. I don't expect this to take a whole evening discussion at this point. It's going to get a lot harder within the budget season. But we're trying to get this wrapped up much more clean. And Councilman Smith is riding roughshod on making sure it's done right. We'll get there. Is there any immediate questions off the top of your head? If not, I'm not closing it down. But if there's not, you're always welcome to stop by City Hall. Ask me questions, get more in depth, drill down into exactly what it's what. More than welcome to stop by, and I'll be happy to explain anything that I can.
Okay, well, I appreciate your efforts on this. I mean, we're going, every month it gets better. Okay, so, not quite better, but we're a lot closer we're working with. So I thank you and all staff, thank you, what they're doing on this. I guess, I read the papers and I look at other things, and some cities are actually revising their budget due to loss of income from the COVID-19 virus.
Right.
And I can see some impact in here from it, but then our other, public works and things like that are under budgeting expenses. And I guess if they continue, right, to be under the budget.
That's the goal.
Yeah, then we don't have to revise our budget. That's right. The current budget, we've got from now till October to close it out, but if our expenses, if everybody's expenses were where they were projected in this, we would have a shortfall.
Sure.
On City Hall specifically. Water and sewer should still be profitable and coming ahead, and in fact, they might do a little better than we're even projecting right now. Parks and Streets have a huge surplus, but they have not actually done any of the projects that we had budgeted for, partly due to COVID-19. I'm sure if we need to spend the money yet. We're working that out right now, getting some prices on trying to do a few things and getting a better handle on our budget before we move forward on a project that's $100,000.
All I'll ask is that if you see the trend before it gets to us, going to where we're gonna have a deficit, please bring it to our attention immediately.
Yeah, and I absolutely will, and I think that there's some good things that are coming along with it, and your notes there on additional factors considered. The INS is actually helping us a lot with our loan payments that we have, especially specifically on the pipeline. I've talked about that. Pays for 3 of the loans right now on the infrastructure. City sales tax was up 60% over our March income. March took a hit initially, but it actually took up 60% over, and that's due to a lot of additional workers that we have in town right now, and the fact that a lot of the carry-out service from our restaurants, our people stayed home. That's the great thing in Blanco, that people stayed home. They didn't travel to Spring Branch or Griffin or Wimberley, just we weren't supposed to begin with. The fact that they actually stayed home to support our local businesses, as a local business, if I was a local business, I'd be very appreciative of those kind of numbers. It's a big deal for whether they know it or not, the citizens did support our local businesses. We'll see if that trend stays true in next month. That is May's report, so May's sales tax report. we'll get another report next month, see if it continues on the level out or rise or fall dramatically. We're gonna have to find that out. So next month will be a better gauge, because we really weren't watching as close as we should have prior to. But yes, to your point, if we see a trend that looks really scary at any point in between the next meeting, we'll bring it to your attention.
And municipal court will be another one that we'll probably have to play a little catch up on. So we, kind of went quiet for a little bit there, but
And that,
We should be able to-
June 16th, so, there have been a couple of people that come in the past couple of days that are not accounted for in our budget that pay fines. I know there was at least 2 in the days, probably been an average of 1 to 2 people per day this week. I think we'll have more, especially as court takes over on, the 16th, so hopefully that'll be a good trend that'll show back to our revenue side on this court side. Anything? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. All righty, so under old business, we have item number 1, which is discuss and consider action on contract with Boydston's property address 320 2nd Street to exchange City of Blanco .024 acre portion of Lot 12 for Boydston's .183 acre portion of Lot 11. So, Will, you want to come right back? Yeah, well, that's for,
So this has been an ongoing thing for how many months, years, plural. And we finally got the surveys for each portion. So there's, over the years, I know the Benzels established the first donation point of land, and it was kind of, the park was just kind of evolved into what are other people's lands didn't know about. So the Boydstons were willing to donate a portion of the property that the park has been using and maintaining in trade for a small piece. So 0.183 acres for 0.024 is a fair trade, and that 0.024 is really in the creek bed, and it just squares up their property that they were retaining. This goes with their house, and the only caveat that they asked for was that they could, we would take that tract and actually just refer to it as the Boyston Family Trust. And I don't see that as being a hardship for anybody. Anybody question?
But the surveys are done and
Surveys
got it all wrapped
They're all
up.
attached to the post contract as a exhibit A, B, I believe it's in your packet.
Yes,
I'm on that.
it's on number 1, below top. With attachment A and B. One second.
We just started.
Sorry?
Across the before.
Oh, three of the cities that we responded to file it for trade, basically trade. There was exhibit A, if you look at exhibit A, the solid the circle X, trying to describe that for you, is actually the creek. Everything above and north of that would be the trade for us by comparison. They get the creek.
That's what they get. That's what we get. There you
Oh, this is what we do.
go.
It's
So they keep line.
pretty much what we get is the area in which the new related to work out.
Yeah, I guess it is. Not more property.
Questions?
Have any questions?
Martin, you're needing a motion to approve this again? Is that what you're asking for?
That is correct,
The last time we motioned to extend the money for the survey.
for the survey, yeah.
This is one of those, any expenditure that went into this land swap where, and, you know, of course, plotting and the survey and everything from there is already fixed in our streets and parks budget. So there would be no budget amendments or anything that come out of this. It's already covered.
So I'll make a motion that we enter into the real property donation agreement. And this is on the Boyston's, the Boyston tract in consideration for the trade.
We have a motion from Mr. Smith. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? All opposed? All right. That's done. Hopefully. Woo-hoo. Thank y'all. All righty. Item number 2 will be discuss and consider action on Los Altos Subdivision Plan Development District, PDD. We did have the public hearings. P&Z went over it and they approved it. There was a pretty good meeting, and so now it's, you know, up to us to decide to approve it or not. And I don't know, Mr. Elizondo, if there's anything you want to say or present. I know there were some good pictures and some, you know, some other things, but if you want to do a little presentation. Yep, come on up, please.
Oh, I didn't want to put them in your pocket.
I have this that you can pass around.
Color copies are expensive.
Oh, I should say it's black and white in the back. I have the color one going around.
First of all, I want to say I appreciate your time and consideration, Mayor, council members. I'm a native of Texas, multiple generations also, probably more than we can count. I've been a resident of Blanco County for over 20 years. I was and I've been working in the development consulting business for over 30 years, representing clients and developers all over the state, all over Central Texas. I've worked with new developers, experienced developers, and learned a lot of things about development over the years. This development is actually my development, along with a couple of office staff that have been with me for 12 years or so. So this is the property that I bought, I purchased in December 2003. Took over payment from the Greenhouse Community Church. This concept has been something that has been an idea of mine for almost 2 decades. Over and over, as we talk to mayors and leaders of cities in this area, we hear the same common theme, and that is the shortage of housing or housing stock. And every community as it evolves needs a variety of housing stock. So we felt this property being close to the school, obviously would offer a commute, less short trip for kids going to school, and even for parents to drop them off and walking to school. So we felt this was a location that was favorable for this type of development. It's extensive to develop in Blanco. The rock is close to the ground, close to the surface of the ground, and it's hard rock. You talk to anybody that
runs trenches, and you get costs to trench for water, wastewater lines, storm sewer. It's expensive. In addition to the purchase of the property, I plan on investing almost $400,000 in infrastructure to make this land, sellable, other than keeping it as wildland. So I appreciate the feedback, and we're going to do our best to alleviate some of those concerns, and some of those are already written into the CCNR we've developed for this property. One of the requirements is to make a statement. One of the requirements for PUD is to make a statement, and really it is cast around the variances we request. And the variances are actually written into the PDD document. There's 3 for R3 residential. The lot frontage is 60 feet. We're asking for 45 feet. And then for the setbacks, side setbacks, I want to clarify this conception. The 0 lot line, all it really does is allow you to shift the home to one side of the lot. Within the PDD, I actually wrote in 7.5-foot setbacks. So it actually gives us 15-foot separation from structure to structure, as opposed to a typical zoning that would be a 10-foot separation, 5-foot setback on either side of the lot. So we've actually increased it to 15. In our recent development work, there is a trend, and call it millennials, or call it retirees, or call it empty nesters. There's a lot of people, unlike me, I grew up on Fort Horse Ranch in Uvalde, Texas, and I know about open spaces, and I know about taking care of rivers, being soft on the land. So what I want to do is point out that within the CCNRs, we will have an architectural review committee that will review every plot plan. They will be required to update the tree survey for each plot, and then we'll look carefully at how the house is situated. I'm going to either build them myself or have an associate build them, or we'll hire a competent builder. So they'll have to turn the plot plans to us, we'll approve them, and then we'll submit it to the city for their sign off. So the tree surveys will be updated on a lot basis. Yes, there are other trees out there that are not shown on our tree mitigation plan. The city doesn't require you to map all trees. We didn't map cedars unless they were sizable, or virgin original cedar. I know there's a lot of deer there. So we concentrated primarily on the live oaks. I'm not here to say that we're only going to remove 12 trees. We're going to remove other trees, but we plan on working around all those that we show on the plan. Work with the building footprint to not impact those that we showed today. Yes, we had a lively discussion at both of the P&Z meetings that we've been to. And one was through Zoom, and one was here last week. And very much in tune with what I hear in other cities. People are concerned about change, and we. As part of this work, and as part of that infrastructure work, just wanted to reinforce that we are rebuilding or building a new 12th Street from Cedar Street west of Greenlawn. P&Z required us to widen existing 12th Street between Cedar and Mesquite, and we've written that into the PDD also. We also committed to working with the school and their superintendent or their building department or official, and come up with a good cohesive holistic plan to manage the traffic during school drop-offs and pickups. And that would be the only time that potentially 12th Street would be one way during the school pickup times. Otherwise, it'd be both ways. Within the PowerPoint presentation, there was a link about some of the myths regarding more dense development. What I want to tell you is, yes, we work in Georgetown, Utah, Kyle, Lockhart, Dripping Springs, and just to name a few, many counties. And right now, the trend is not so much larger lots, but smaller lots. We're working on the development in Georgetown, and it has 220 lots. Well, it's just north of Berry Creek off Shell Road. The 70-foot lots and 90-foot lots that they first divided that up into, they can't move. They can't move very fast at all. They have a lot of trees on them. The developers are just not looking for bigger lots. And in fact, just last week, they recommissioned us to lay out the rest of the development in smaller lots. People just don't want large yards to maintain. I mean, that's not who I am, but that's not the trend today. You know, I don't mind mowing. I don't mind shredding, pushing them over. So we believe this is a project that, you know, if done correctly, and that's what we intend to do, that it will be, you know, quite an asset into the housing stock here in Buffalo. So with that said, I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
I'm assuming if P&Z approves this,
Yes.
that it meets the Unified Development Plan guidelines and everything.
Yes. The PDD ordinance allows, you know, flexibility from both the developer and the city. So there's give and take. So we try to tip the scales, you know, in a manner that the city would ultimately win.
So there was 3 variances, you say, right? Which was the going from the 60 feet to the 45, but the square, if I remember right, the square footage met the square footage part. So it's narrower, but they're longer. So square footage wise, and then the setbacks. And what was the third one?
Third one was the density.
Okay. And then that was by 2, if I remember right, was it?
Yeah, density is allowed 5 for this type of base zoning. R3 allows 5 units per acre, which would be 20.7 homes.
Gotcha.
We actually have 22, including the existing.
Gotcha.
That's the variance is 1.
So it's less than two lots. Okay. And then is there gonna be sidewalks on 12th
Sidewalks along 11th and 12th from Green Lawn to.
and on Green Lawn too, or okay,
No,
not on Green Lawn, just on okay.
Basically, the frontage of 11th and 12th,
Gotcha.
all the way. Quite a bit of wastewater infrastructure.
And there will be an HOA or a
Yes, sir.
gotcha.
And we'll control that. We will control it up to 7% occupancy. And then we'll hand the reins off to a steering committee to elect an active board. And we plan to seat that HOA.
Yeah, I think you said there was something about a minimum of 2 trees per house
Yes.
or
That was a PMD requirement because some of those lots don't have sizable live and they wanted to make sure that we at least place 2 trees on every lot. So we agreed to 3 caliber, 3 diameter trees, 2 on each lot.
a minimum of 2.
Whether
Yeah,
there's trees there to there.
gotcha. May I have any other questions or
I don't have any questions, but I probably have.
okay? Yeah, like I said, I sat through the P&Z meeting and at first couldn't tell which way it was going to go. I mean, it was some opposition and there was some good discussion. And I think overall, kind of what I interpreted out of them is overall, they thought it was better for Blanco. I mean, it was a good thing for Blanco. We're going to get some infrastructure. We would, and that's like I said, at the beginning of the meeting, I would have thought they were going to vote no. And then after some good discussion and, they went ahead and voted. I think it was 5-1 or 4-1, 5-1 to approve it.
I guess I need a clarification, or I've got some questions. And this is in the attachment A, the Unified Development Code on page 8. It refers to off-street parking in two different manners.
Yeah.
This is in 2.4.8. And it says, off-street parking is not encouraged in the subdivision.
Correct.
Then it says, off-street parking is provided in a carport at the rear of the residence. So it says.
Yeah, I needed to remove the first off.
Okay. Yeah, you can on-street parking. And,
Yeah, I could say on-street parking.
okay.
That was me.
Okay. My other concern from past experience, I guess, is in 2.4.11, where you've got the requirement for the 2 3-inch caliber trees. I'd like to see the HOA require that they be maintained and alive every 2 years. That, if they're not, if the homeowner's gonna have to replace them, they'll water.
Sure.
If they'll let 2 years and they'll.
They should throw it. We can add that verbiage and all that.
Those are the only comments that I have.
Anybody else have any comments, or we have a motion, or?
Well, I make some comment. I understand that change is scary, and I appreciate the residents who have concern, voice their concerns, because we all love Blanco and we all want to see Blanco stay a small rural community. That's kind of why we all live here. Having said that, over the past several years, I've been to a lot of planning seminars and what makes a happy city. And walkable cities are what make small communities thrive and improve the quality of life. And that's one of the reasons why planning and zoning went back and we looked at the R3 zoning for our city centers. And I think that this does fall into that R3 zoning category of smaller lots that are appropriate for our city, will give us a more walkable city. I also would say, I lost my train of thought. So, I think it would be a good thing for the city overall, and I want to see it built responsibly. You seem to have a pretty good plan in place. So with that, I guess I'll wrap it up. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
As far as infrastructure on it, we've got what it takes with water, sewer, electrical, everything to support.
No, we would have, of course, see what with the water sewer. We've got water, the main line down on State Street to be able to take 2 taps. And we would be extending the infrastructure down 11th and 12th, even adding fire protection and such from there. Wastewater, when this gets to the point where it gets passed in and what you do preliminary stuff, we'll have our engineers look it over and make sure that our wastewater side will be able to handle that. In the discussion that we've had today, there won't be any type of foreseen needs to upgrade anything else for the building. So, no, this seems to be pretty much the opportune spot with water and sewer availability to be able to take on this type of too. So no problems that the ENC is right.
I remember where I was going. Sorry. The other thing that was mentioned is, one of the things that we have an issue with is affordable housing and places for people that are actual working families to live. If you look at the median home price in Blanco, it's hovering around 200,000 for very small, outdated houses. And we have several companies that can't even find places for their employees to rent or to live, and they have to commute here from Kyle and other places because they can't even find housing. And I think this is an opportunity to make affordable housing that young families can afford and actually stay and live in Blanco so Blanco can thrive, because one of the problems we have is we have our kids grow up here, they graduate high school, they go off to Texas State or whatever college it is, and then they never come back because there's no jobs, no opportunity, and no housing that they can afford. So I really do believe that we need some affordable housing in Blanco. So that was my.
What do you have in mind? Is it a collection pond on the,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
we have a detention pond there at the corner of Green Lawn and Rose. And we will divert the water for that. There's actually a couple of moss of oak trees there. And we actually designed a pond to bench around those trees to preserve those. So we have a detention there.
And kind of just explain for the layperson what that detention pond does.
Well, the Texas Administrative Code requires any new development to hold back the water to its pre-existing condition, the runoff.
Stormwater mitigation.
So as rooftops and driveways are built, you increase the impervious cover on a piece of ground, and you, at least in the initial part of the storm, it's going to run off quicker than it was falling on grass. So the way the laws and rules are written, that new development should contain or must contain the increase in runoff. You release it based on the city's drainage criteria manual. You have to control, depending on your rules, the 2, the 5, the 10, the 25 year storm. And people say, why the 2? Well, the 2 actually is the one that occurs most often, the 2-year storm, and that actually is the one that can actually do the most damage. Little cuts, as opposed to one big cut. So it goes back sediment. It provides a water quality feature.
And where will that detention pond be released? Where, as it comes out?
There's a pipe there, which is on underneath or under 11th Street or Greenlawn, so it'll release the same rate as it is today.
But that comes out of Town Creek.
Celebrate that 7th Street.
So that's those are the rules we have.
I've seen some retention ponds that look like green areas when they're not full of water.
Yeah.
And I've seen others that are a pile of trash and rocks, so,
Or a big cement hole.
yeah.
There's a grass.
Yes.
It's a grass.
And it's normally dry, and it will just hold back water during the storm. Release it over 24 hours.
I would hope it would be a place where kids could play rather than where rattlesnakes gather.
And so, Matt mentioned this is affordable housing, and so I'm curious what the range is.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that the number of lots that we request in this PDD is important. Because the cost of the land was not inexpensive, and the development is not inexpensive. So those are pretty big numbers when you add both the land costs and the development costs. And the only thing you have to divide that by is the number of lots. So by doing that, you're able to come up with a cost to develop that lot. And that's the cost of the lot. That lot cost becomes the basis for a loan, conventional financing. So the price point right now, and this is based on our preliminary budgets, for the infrastructure. Once it goes through final plat and construction drawings, we'll have approved drawings and we'll have competitive bids for that work. we may actually do it ourselves too. I have a separate construction company, my brother and I do. And we're used to installing utilities and building roads.
Give us a retail price.
Our price point right now is $225.
Oh, that's about what
So,
I think that's fine.
but it's gonna be a modern home with all the modern conveniences. I mentioned the other day, I was looking pretty hard at, building a perimeter wall footing and using floor trusses to make them a little more ergonomic, a little softer on the back. And I've also talked to some lenders about it, because lenders are very conservative. They like things that, are the norm. And they said that, they'll be supportive of that type of perimeter wall, and the floor truss on top.
I must have gotten some bad information because I had thought that I had heard these were coming in the 180,000 range. So that's incorrect information.
Yeah, no, I haven't finalized the numbers. The 225 is what I think it'll come in at. Like I said, that once we go through the full review of the construction drawing, actually put the numbers together on the cost of the project. Then, we're not here to be greedy, but we have to justify it.
Anybody have any comments, or anybody want to make a motion?
No. I'm just noticing the amount of opposition there is from the people that live close by. And also in the petition that was gathered, maybe you could address it. There's a lot of people that are from out of the area.
If you're from Blanco, you'll see a lot of those people live in Blanco, and I don't know why it's in like Houston and Gurney.
Okay.
So locations, and when you sign the petition, all you put in is your name and your email address. So I'm not sure where it's pulling those cities from. It might be from their cell phone. I'm not sure from our past locations, but all you put in is your name and your email address. And if you look down there, if any of y'all are longtime Blanco residents, you'll see a bunch of names on there that it'd be like, they live in Blanco. Yeah, they live in Blanco. Why does it say Vernon? Why does it say Houston? Why does it say Dallas? So those are not, and I put a little note on there that a lot of those, and I did not have time to go through and highlight the ones that I know are going to go to that. So they have a different,
You don't have a number of how many Blanco citizens.
no, not.
I mean, I recognize some of them as being Blanco residents, but I also recognize some of them saying Blanco are actually not city limit residents either.
Uh-huh.
But there's quite a few signatures here.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be taken.
And I have one on our red mark and also just on over here.
We don't know that.
Well, I think, one comment I have about this is, I agree with Peggy that, people do move to this area for a smaller town, more rural feel. Unfortunately, I don't see that in cities like Kyle or Georgetown or Vita. So if that's our comparison, this will be moving us along the path to Vita or Kyle. I don't think that's what people in this community really want.
And can I just say something? I talked to a realtor, Candy Cardwell, and hoping she would talk. I asked her, I said, when people move to Blanco, what do they actually look for? And she said houses with space. They move out of big cities to come to Blanco because we have elbow room. We're not sitting on top of our neighbors. Everybody wants room to breathe, a yard for their children to play in, not just house driveway, house driveway, house driveway. I'm not sure how much front yard, backyard these are gonna have, but it doesn't look like a whole lot, in my opinion. But I just know, we're a small, charming town, and that's what I'm fighting to keep it a small town where people from big cities come here and they can retire and have their children. If they're not retired, have their children, there's room to play in their yards. have a trampoline, have a swimming pool, have fun things for them to do. And have, room to breathe and not be hearing your neighbor pull out the driveway when they go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. Play their loud music, or their TV.
If you look at the, comprehensive master plan that was done in 2003 and approved in 2005, our lots used to be 4 lots, 1 block. And they did recommend it and go down to a smaller lot, but not 0 lot line. Yeah.
So we have any other comments? The only thing I'll say is P and Z did work hard on it, and I think of all the times that I've worked with P and Z, I've not agreed with them one time. I mean, they do a lot of work and they do a lot of research. So I'm not saying that we always have to agree with them, but they do a lot of work. The other thing is the houses there next to that Tim Foster built. I think he's built like 4 of them that are probably 5 or 10 feet from each other. That I think they're around that same range. And I talked to him yesterday and he said those sell as faster than he gets them built. So I think the need for housing, is there, and at that, market.
You're talking about the houses there on the state bill?
Yeah, where the state built. Yeah, I know he built 4 of those right there that are around that. I mean, they might even be a little bit higher, but they're pretty small. There's not much yard or any of that either. And
Some of them also have lots at 12 and Steve that we were
And I get the argument, that people want to spread out, but if you want to spread out, Majestic Hills is 5 acres. You don't have to be in the city. The city should have a little bit more dense population and I think SPARs. And one thing we could use as an example is the typical Sunday house. I know somebody that has a Sunday house, and back in the day, people would come in from the ranches and stay in their Sunday houses. They were really small Sunday houses. We see plenty of examples of them still existing. And I think if you look at the pictures that he's presented, they're in line with the design and construction. It's not like they're putting in a high-rise building. These are, it looks like what they're trying to build is in line with what we consider the culture of our town as well. So that would be my last.
I agree with that. I think they're both really nice. My concern is the density.
I live exactly right across the street where there are going to be 7 houses on 1 block, right out my front door. When I went to get my car today, deer ran out of my yard. The deer are going to be gone, the bunny rabbits, the birds, everything are going to be gone over there. And I really don't want to look out my front door and see 7 houses on 1 block right across the street from my house. I mean, I know I don't own it, I understand that, I understand development, all I'm asking is approve the subdivision, but don't approve so many houses being built on that land. Follow city code, we have it for a reason. I'm a daycare here in town, on that block, there's 8 lots. Almost every block in town has 8 or fewer lots on each block. So we need to keep Blanco consistent and have it looking the same, not you go to this block and then there's 22 houses squashed on 2 blocks.
it's not open for discussion anymore. I mean, we had the public hearing and all that, so we need to cut out the discussion. It's our discussion.
I understand the 0 lot line that he's proposing is going to yield more separation between the dwellings than the current code. So that exceeds the net effect it's going to be 15 feet versus
10,
10.
correct.
So there's item 1. The current code allows for 20 houses, is that correct?
20 point,
20.7, so he's asking for 5% variance in the number of houses. You'd be complicit with code at 20.7 houses, which would make 20 houses.
Right.
Yeah. And he's asking for 22 houses.
correct.
1.3.
Yeah, or 1.3 houses.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be 5%.
That's correct.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the planned development for the wall outpost with the provisions that I had discussed earlier concerning the correction of off street to on street.
On page 8, from off-street to on-street
Yeah,
parking.
where they're gonna,
2.48.
on-street parking is not encouraged. And then we add a provision for the HO to be responsible for the, trees to be established for 2 years post occupancy of the club.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. So any discussion before we vote? You know, all in favor? All opposed? Did you get that?
All in favor and.
Four, we had four, and then these have one opposed. All right. Let's go on to item number 3, which is discuss and consider action on the K-9 agreement. So I think last time or a couple of meetings ago, we had the K-9, the K-9 officer is building a new house and the old kennel isn't mobile, so we couldn't move the kennel over there. So to get a new one built was, I believe, was it $5,000?
Yes.
Whatever. And there were some legal issues with us, you know, giving him money. If we were to give him $5,000 and he were to quit tomorrow, then, you know, the city's out $5,000. So Will and I talked a little bit and we came up with an idea about doing a stipend. So right now, the sergeants get a stipend, our investigators or detectives get a stipend. So if we give this officer a stipend, basically, you know, we said $1,200 a year. What was it? Oh, it's in the packet there. It breaks down to, sorry, I guess I should.
It's $6,000.
Yeah.
4 years.
Yellow.
56, over 26, 57.6 hours, 26 days.
So therefore, if he stays here long enough, he pays for his kennel, and if he happens to leave, then, you know, we're not out anything. And there,
But it's contingent on his performance, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Do we modify that? Yeah.
which part was it?
Just a line item or a note at the end of the 26 pay period. That is, it's not just 4 years, just whether he's here or not, it's contingent upon what.
Yeah, and we make it up to 4 years of employment, it's like a PD, yeah.
Anybody have any other questions or comments on that? I mean, I spoke with him. Not sure if we're exactly good on the dollar amount, but that was a dollar amount that I thought was fair to, you know, he's going to be here for a while, then, you know, he'll get his money back. And
The net effect is the same to us.
Right.
As the other agreement.
right,
It was $5,000 for the.
Yeah.
For the cage, but if he,
leaves tomorrow,
if he left tomorrow, then.
he got $100 or whatever, you know, $50, whatever is.
$5,000 worth of our,
Right, right,
and then we've got to be able to replicate that cost.
right.
So are you needing a motion on this?
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the K-9 agreement with the officer, K-9 officer, and that was included the board. Yeah, for the board and for up to 4 years during his employment with the, Blanco PD.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Keith. All in favor? All opposed? Nobody? All right. Somehow I lost my minutes here. I mean, your agenda. I don't know what I did with it. I'm having a blind moment today. What's the next item? All right, give me the next item. I don't know how I lost it from here to here.
The next one is the water, number 4,
Okay.
water number 4.
So the next item on the agenda is item number 4, to discuss and consider action on new ordinance to adopt and approve new fees for water, sewer, and waste collection in the city of Blanco in the Blanco ETJ. So this is one we've also been working on for a long time, and Will and Martha, you know, have worked on it, and I think we even talked about it at the last meeting, and you know, sent homework home with y'all. So I don't know, Will, if you got anything to add, or I know you got kind of a
For those
highlight.
Corrections that was suggested in the last meeting. And, I am here with those corrections. The only addition is on the first page. I did make a suggestion of an implementation schedule. At the top. Not set in stone. But that would be our recommendation so that we can work the things into, yet to be able to work into our budget as well. It's not what we want to do.
Does anybody have any comments or questions, or?
The request that we made, from review this, the request that we previously made have been changed on this.
Correct.
You know, specifically the exempt providers.
Yep. So do we have a motion to move forward with this?
I make a motion that we adopt the fee schedule as submitted in our package, and that we adapt the implementation dates as recommended by staff.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor? All opposed? That's another one finally done. We get some stuff off of this one, yeah. All right.
They picked me.
All right, item number 5, discuss and consider action on Walt Adamson proposal for service to the city of Blanco. So Mr. Adamson is here.
I'll do my best to keep it in 3 minutes, but I can't guarantee it all.
No, when you're on the agenda, you don't have to be in 3 minutes, yeah. Yeah, but we could, yeah.
I'll do my best. My name is Walt Addison. I'm currently operations manager for Coast Country Networks. We're located in Dripping Springs. I've been here for about 15 years. I've had 4 kids go through the school district. I still have one that's actually enrolled. I'm currently tasked with expanding internet for rural areas. And we have about 70 towers up within about a 100-mile radius of Blanco, downtown Blanco. And we currently have a need or we've had some discussions about the use of the Blanco City Water Tower to locate some of our internet equipment. This originally started out where I was pretty much presented the situation where I could approach the city, provide a small monetary amount of capital to use the water tower. And as I talked to the superintendent and security resource officer, this thing completely exploded. So based on some of the technology we can provide, I mean, it's gone way beyond what I originally intended, but I kind of feel like I want to put back since, like I said, I've been in this community for a while and I do have kids that have gone through the school district. So that's kind of where we're at. Has anybody had a chance to look through the list of provided earlier? Because there's quite a few details and I can go through them all again, but if you just have specific questions, we can go from there.
Would your use of the city water tower be exclusive?
It would only in the aspect of internet related equipment. As far as the repeaters, some of what's on the list is we're gonna assist in growing the two-way radio system that exists in Blanco, basically for the use of the BID and potentially emergency services. There's things we can do with repeaters now that you couldn't do even a few years ago. We can actually use the repeaters with a data link connection. So, I mean, you're kind of limited. We can run a two-way, we can walk around with a two-way radio with the tower infrastructure we have and talk to somebody a couple hundred miles away. The only reason we want exclusivity is because of the frequencies that the internet-related equipment runs on would interfere with the same stuff we have.
And the term of this agreement is what?
We haven't determined that. Like I said, this exploded. There's a tremendous amount of things we're willing to do to help the school district and the community. And like I said, we just finally got most of this ironed out. I mean, we're pretty negotiable on any of that kind of stuff. At this point, with the power infrastructure we have in place, this isn't a super critical piece of infrastructure for us to have use of the tower, but it would help us obviously.
So, Will, currently we have another internet provider on there right now, right? That we don't have an active, a current lease with. Basically, they just kind of grandfathered in the.
We have a lease that expired 9 years ago.
Okay.
And Rise broadband. And I tried starting to get that renewed a year or 10 months ago. And now they suddenly have a contract. It's been a long time. And I've denied them access to it, to the, due to the easement and to the lack of the contract. But they didn't want access until they heard somebody else going up there. They didn't want a contract. They use electricity that we pay for, so that allows it to be on the building as well. So it's not a very fair contract for years.
One thing I was throwing out that I didn't exclusively put down in the notes here, but Steve Harris had this long list of basically his wish list. He submitted a grant which was denied. He's going to try again, and then a lot of time it has to pass before he can do it again. But essentially, he's got a list of equipment here. He's quoted almost $62,000, and the installation costs were just over $16,000. So one of the things right off the bat we offered is that we have a double E on staff. He's a two-way guy. He knows quite a bit about this technology. I know about the other side of it. We could put our team together and provide the installation for free. That's $16,600 just on this one aspect. Like I said, it's exploded. There's a lot here, so we're willing to do what we need to do to keep this cooking. The superintendent had some pretty good ideas, like in emergency situations during the COVID, when kids have kind of a Wi-Fi hotspot that they could all kind of congregate to, maybe like 15 or 20 at a time, sit in the parking lot, tap into the school's network. That could help in situations like that, because we've got the infrastructure in a lot of these rural areas. And I'm currently building Fisher, Wimberley, and Candalia right now. So again, we'll be able to, Coach Campbell's out driving in the rural areas with a school bus, and you can't use your cell phone or a two-way radio, and you just change all that.
I guess I'm gonna go back to Will real quick. We won't have a lot of continuity in City Hall for 9 years ago. So I guess my charge to you would be, is I'd like to know definitively where we are with the current provider that has equipment on the tower before we enter into something else and be in conflict with something we didn't realize.
There is no contract signed at all right now. They have sent me a contract finally. I've not given it to anyone yet until we decide what we're doing here. That is, Rise Broadband is out of Colorado.
Right, I mean, I don't know if they have an exclusive right to renew or if it's up.
No, there's not. That contract was a dead-end contract that had a clause that went to 5 years, and it ended. I hadn't looked at it as well.
Was there monetary consideration paid by that?
Absolutely not.
You say this is Verizon?
Rise.
Oh.
So when there was never any monetary, they have a building on site, that little storage building they put their equipment into, that is theirs. So they would have to remove that or whatever they provided that. We paid electricity for them, in this new contract, it took, again, that was 10 months ago. I went back over and over again to get $50 a month out of them, just pay for the electricity. And we pay.
They've got a storage building facility, general and propane tank,
Yes.
all within our immediate property.
By terminating it with them, what are we terminating in the community as far as, I don't know what services they provide.
GVTC came in and kind of changed the whole game as far as the city goes, and they're expanding outward now. So we're, like I said, our essential, our main gig is to provide it in areas where you just couldn't get it otherwise. If the population density didn't meet their criteria, they wouldn't go in there. Case in point, Cielo Springs, Rock and J. GVTC would not go into those subdivisions because the housing density wasn't where they could make money. So we literally provide 95% of the internet to those two communities right now.
I know they're providing service off the tower, but I don't know to what capacity. It's
I don't know.
typically something that I don't deal with every.
Everybody that I see, I literally daily with technicians, I'm removing Rise equipment because of their customer service, and people are just so fed up. And that was another point I made about our customer service. We don't have a customer service department. The owners and the technicians are the people that answer the phone 24/7. I mean, some of the people in this community can tell you I've gone to their house personally and climbed up on the roof. So
I would be interested, I used another service that you're probably aware of. Their customer service is terrible. They're on site here. That was before GVTC came, so I would hope you're.
like I said,
Unfortunately, they're local.
Yeah.
You have to have good customer service if you're.
I mean, we had a couple issues in Rock and J recently where we had those storms come through and the power was knocked out. I literally, my wife will tell you, I was over there in a raincoat and a generator to get that built because they had an EC line fuse blow out. Guys are trying to get me going, but I mean, I was there within an hour with a generator getting everything running again. And I've done that twice now. So it's something to do with their water processing, water treatment plant that they have in Rock and J. It had a lot of issues, pulled a lot of current, there's some big pumps, and they could blow a line fuse a lot.
So like the two-way radios, is that something that y'all would use at all, Ron? I mean, is there,
Two-way radios is what the city utilized before, cell phones were, that we came about 10, 12 years ago. We currently have a couple of two-way radios that we've been handed down from the emergency services district. But yes, first and foremost would be the only number one way of communication. If there was a natural disaster where cell phones and such were not. I don't, you remember in 2015, we actually had cell phone services lost for about 4 to 6 hours or so. And at that point, of course, there's only 2 people working in public works, but we utilized two-way radios at that point. I believe it was emergency services, PD, that actually gave us the two-way radios to be able to stay on the emergency channels. So that's the idea behind what Walt Alex is actually bringing in and whatever the case is. Something that we can use for expandability and for something from there. Not only the school system be able to utilize it, but the city services as well.
Since Steve Harrison's here, I listened to him talk about this for several months, and the radios that they're wanting or asking for
Yeah, I got the list right here.
are for the buses. They're asking for 22 or 25 radios, one for each bus, and a couple for like the superintendent and maintenance personnel and stuff, because right now, there are certain parts of the bus routes where they don't have cell phone or radio communication at all. This would increase their ability should a student get violent or someone attack the bus or have an accident. God forbidding that happen.
A lockdown at the school.
The lockdowns and the buses are out, so they have to divert. They are required by their policy to send directly to us.
One of the ways it's expanded is when I met with Steve Harris, with the security resource officer, and I was really excited to know that, and I still have a child that's got 2 years left of high school and blanket, that there's somebody there in case some nutwad shows up. I mean, that was really encouraging to me. He's very conscientious, obviously, about what he does, and he's had an organized list. Like I said, he submitted a grant. On here, he's got 40 radios if it matters, but
Well,
yeah, it's a big number though. Yeah.
But the idea, Mary, was, yeah, we got the external system with the public works department, the PD, and like, your council members that matter, be able to have the accessibility of emergency.
so as far as your SCADA, I mean, right now at the sewer plant, is where we don't have any Wi-Fi or anything at the sewer plant?
That's correct. According to the original, and I don't know if it was the original, it was the contract we were working on, 11 years ago, when I started, it was Rise Broadband. We had a number of free internet connections, and at that time, we were using them at every location.
As the main, yeah.
GVDC was not in town yet. When GVDC did come to town, we used none, until we got the new wastewater treatment plant facility. And at that point, we utilized one, and that is the current only Rise Broadband internet service we're using.
So would we be able to switch that over to, okay, so we could,
He said he was gonna buy one himself.
so
That's the idea.
that's the only thing we're using from Rise right now?
Rise Broadband was not gonna work for us as they stand currently. For us, as far as our state expansion in the future, when we want lift station communications and stuff on there, because you have to have line of sight. Whereas, Adamson's towers, of course, where repeaters can bounce around and be able to swing signals and go from there.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I think any consideration of doing something like this should include getting Blanco Panthers painted on that water tower.
While you're up there, right? Yeah. While you're up there.
You get the tower painted every 5 years.
No, I think the painting would be, they should be the sandblasting, there's a lot of rust on that tower.
We're keeping that a secret.
So Brad, are you on the line? Or is he muted? I'm kind of, I think where you're kind of going is make sure that the end of,
You go pull some equipment off, is there-
Right.
State regulation.
make sure that we can cancel that one the right way or end it officially the right way. So do you see any issues or you got any comment on this, Brad?
Not right now. I mean, I think I'd want to see it in writing in front of me more to give you a better answer.
Okay.
Even as the public works director for the years I've been here, whether phone call, email, I could never get anybody from Rise Broadband to answer the phone.
So tell me how to do that.
So the way I did it was, legal or not, Brad, your bucks if you don't mind, but just shut the power off.
And they came pretty fast.
Shut the power off and they came right to City Hall looking for me. So that's where I can answer your question, that I know they provide services.
Something, because they knew it was down.
Showed up so fast, but I just don't know what's working fast. I mean,
Gotcha.
no country might have already taken all the customers and now it really doesn't matter. But just in my 10 years of dealing with Rise Broadband on that tower alone, the only way I've ever gotten to actually speak to somebody is shut the power.
Okay, well,
So if you want to speak with them, I can.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I support, local business and like this, but I just want to make sure that we end the other one the right, I don't want, like he's saying, so. I mean, it could be, but if we're ready for it, but I don't know if and the new one. So basically, you just need something to say, hey, we can move forward and go to the next step. Basically, I mean, this isn't nothing final yet.
We just need to make sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's something formal that was provided to them, saying you got X amount of days to remove your equipment. I think they're gonna be,
Yeah.
that'll kind of get the ball rolling,
so you gotta shut the power off again.
To get them back over here. So,
They get 30 days, it's a contract, the previous contract says 30 days. But I'll still have, not just here, pending review from our attorney.
Sure.
We move.
So I guess we're gonna table it for now, and then we'll,
Technically, it won't do
well, we started, we're gonna get, Brad's gonna look into this and give us an answer to how we can proceed.
Do we need to make a motion to allow him to proceed to?
Okay, let's try this again. I'll make a motion that we start the procedure to terminate the agreement with a current tenant or holdover tenant that we have on top of the water tower, so we can go forward with, Walt and negotiate this with him.
all right, we have a motion.
it.
We got a second. All in favor? All opposed? All right, let's get that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
All right, we're on page 2. Woohoo! We're flying through this. So on new business, we took care of quite a bit of the old business. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Smith. He's over there. He's the. So on new business, we have item number 1 is to discuss and consider action on appointment of Planning and Zoning Commissioner Rachel Lumpy. So,
I'll just go ahead and.
yeah, it's a formality. So, yeah,
Rachel, is planning and zoning commissioner.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? Woo-hoo. All righty.
Just one question. Is she still with the paper? Because I haven't seen her.
Yeah, I think she's doing it all. She's probably on there. That's her right there on the bottom left. See?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her. But congratulations, Rose.
Yeah. All right, item number 2 should be another quick one. Discuss and consider action on a new stop sign at Calico Way and Primrose in the Calico Meadows subdivision. So it's the road that goes into Calico Meadows and it tees and it comes to in there and it just obviously needs one. I mean, it's a pretty so.
Stop sign on Calico where it intersects with Primrose. I don't think we.
Yeah, that's what.
It's a three-way intersection.
Yeah, and that's what this one is. This one's for.
I think from my standpoint, looking at it, when you come into it, you stop and then if you had a right and a left, that you would be yielding to.
Yep.
And I'll make a motion that we put in a single stop sign. Calico.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Also,
We have a second. All in favor? All opposed?
I would like to make a comment here.
Okay.
So if you drive around town, there's street signs missing everywhere, all over town. And a big one is there's not a sign at 281 Main Street where you turn off to go to the state park. You know, you're gonna say that's Tech Stop. But, but you know, that's embarrassing that somebody comes into town and there's no stop sign at the biggest attraction in the city. And so I think that's unacceptable. So I think we should put on Tech Stop for that. But I also think it's on us for the other signs all around town that are missing. So if you're trying to drive around in Blanco and find an address and there's no, I mean, they're intermittent street signs.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I would go around and look, and this one's a greater. I mean, there's not one at the other end of Sligo either, you know, where you come into.
Coming out the Mesquite.
Yeah, Mesquite, but that's not a greater. When you're in that neighborhood and it's
Yeah.
all residential and.
And there's a lot of kids walking around. I mean, there's a lot of kids playing around there.
This one's, you know, if I pull up to 281, I should be able to figure out.
That is kind of, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, this one could be a yield, yeah.
But if I'm in that subdivision,
It's,
you really don't know.
yeah.
So I think we.
And if you drive in there, people don't stop. It's just, they're just driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No, so,
Yeah.
all righty.
I don't just understand.
There are several signs, stop signs, I believe that do 9th, 10th, or 11th at 281 stop signs missing. Again, that's stuff.
Yes.
Now, we can, if we don't have to have a budget, we can take over pretty much a lot of those signs that stuff should be good. But we take over patching, temporary patching. So that's gonna be the new mission, and Matt's gonna be the bird dog on,
Tell us where the signs.
Root anybody. You
well, I'm telling you that.
can never get through, so.
All righty, so we're on item number 3, which is discuss and consider action on wastewater treatment plan, treatment plant lease agreement. So basically, we've already entered this lease agreement. I just wanted to give y'all a heads up. Basically, they put an ad in the paper for someone to lease the land for either hay, whatever, and we had one respondent, and we've agreed with them. It's like $600 a year, and then he's going to pay us $10 of each bale that they get out of there. So for one, it's going to be good. We'll be watering a lot more and irrigating a lot more. So it's the start. So he's, I think, starting Thursday, he's going to start digging some land. And,
Start with the chisel, he'll go down, 10, 12 inches into the ground, get it ripped up. The ground's really, really hard. We've been disking, we don't get deep enough with the disc. He's gonna get down there and put that thing in. He's actually 12 inches, it's just gonna soak up the water, it's gonna be fantastic. That he's gonna be cutting left and right.
And tell him how many cuts you think he's gonna get a year.
I mean, what was it,
1 a month,
yeah, 1 month, but
and that's
What do you
phenomenal.
get?
I don't care. I don't care if it's 3, but 1 a month is a little ambitious, but he's gonna get it going. Hey, I don't care, I just want to take it, I want a place to put water. And we have the 210 reuse that he'll be taking to his other property. It's gonna really solve a lot of water issues.
If you go into that a little more, I want for everybody to really understand it. So what he's proposing, or
What?
Yeah, there he is. What?
Well, I'll just kind of start it out. He's proposing is to take some of our reuse water right now and put it on his other fields that he currently has lease on.
That's the hall water.
So, but he'll have to haul that water out, but that's another avenue for us to use that reuse water.
That's water before it goes into the pot, so it's actually the cleanest, it's the 210 water. So at that point, currently, if you read your little updates on the budget side of it, it talks about, we have approximately 15,000 gallons worth of storage tanks that we just put in there. Ronnie's wrapping up, that portion of it so we can start selling that water. Right now, we're not selling, we just want somebody to take it. And he's got a place to take it, he'll take 30,000 gallons a year at least.
Is this something where it's the irrigation field lease?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
there'll be a lot of water that he'll move. If he threw out 30,000, I think it's gonna take a lot
I
more.
would say that's very,
Well,
that's one small
If
swing.
it's him taking 30,000, the idea is to get this reclaimed water system operational, whatever, even though we're working on minimal storage at this point. These storage tanks are actually donated by Canada Lake Water Supply Company. And we put them online and such, with us having our reclaimed water authorization, you as a council can either decide to sell the water, we can give the water away, whatever the case from there. But it does allow it to leave offsite. Like anybody and everybody can come get it and go from there. There's no legalities of it, as long as they're understanding that it is reclaimed water. They know that by the purple plastic color that we're gonna have all over from there. But yes, no, we received 3 different tanks from Canyon Lake Water Supply Company, totaling, I think, 24,000 gallon storage total. We've got 2 of them out there. The other one is such a big size. Yeah, it's gonna be a real challenge to try to get it down to the wastewater system. But no, this water will typically be able to leave, and then we already have the reclaimed water authorization that gives us, the right to do so and everything else. I believe that was passed in 2017.
Yeah, that's used on the land.
Right.
And now we can get it off the property as well, so that gives a lot more capability in the future.
The idea would be to give the water away and have anybody and everybody that wants to use the water go get it, have them access whatever the case from there. And when council so chooses, then we sign them on.
Yeah. We're like the drug dealer, you give them that first one free and then,
We want to get them booked,
Yeah.
and then we want to really.
yeah, it was like,
Well, sure, that'll be appealing to a lot of, people. Hey,
Well, currently, we sell our water off our hydrant meters and such, at $7 per 1,000 gallons, and then they have a $350 a month meter fee. This would be no fee other than them having to go get it. Of course, with this, when we initiate this project and stuff from there, we want to upgrade our easement road and everything from there and make it as easy transition to get this water as all possible. And the idea, the way we're setting it up at this point is nobody will actually enter in our fenced-in brand new wastewater treatment site. The piping will actually come out of the fencing, for your 6-foot fencing, 3 strands of barbed wire. So that doesn't allow anybody access into our treatment facility where any kind of regulation can be done, but it just allows them on the property to be able to fill up the tanks.
alrighty.
Sounds good.
We'll go on to item number 4, which is, well, because there's no action needed on that one, the agreement's already been signed. So number 4 is discuss and consider action on the 2020 trash off. So, Ronnie, I think that's a Ronnie thing.
Well,
Quiet up there.
what we're really looking for here is a direction. We can or can't do the trash off depending on how council approves. If we did get the direction to move forward and say, let's tentatively find a date, we're gonna look for July July, August, whatever the case from there. That's when we get back to Progressive to see if we would be able to get the dumpsters. In our contract with, I believe it's Progressive or Waste Connection now. Progressive. So we have it in our contract with them is 6 dumpsters, 40-yard dumpsters at no charge for the year for the trash. We pay their nominal fees or whatever the case after every other dumpster after 6, but we get 6 free per year for the purpose of the trash. Now, normally, we do schedule this in about the first week of April. They're aware of, they get us our dumpsters and stuff in there. Now that we pushed it off, and of course, other project stuff they have going on, I've got to with Progressive and to see what their schedule looks like. But then they want to know from us, well, when are you looking to do it? Of course. So,
Well, when do you want to do it?
Keith wants it tomorrow because he can get his trailer back, he said.
there's
Does
really
the
not.
county have anything planned? Have they got a date set?
No, the county usually does theirs on Transfer Road. I haven't heard if they're still pushing theirs off. They haven't said that they're gonna cancel it for the year or anything yet. Because normally we do this somewhat in the time of that time frame with,
We usually connect, coordinate it, like,
Right.
have ours one weekend and I'll have theirs.
they'll have their difference, so we're not all doing
Well,
all
if
this.
you give them a date, and we, COVID still is aggressive and everything, then we can change it again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but even, the idea coming today, we're gonna have it on the agenda, is just to get a direction. Like, I'm not gonna do it all, we want to.
Yeah.
We need it. It's important.
I want my trailer back.
We're getting a lot of calls.
Oh, yes.
And I just feel right around the violations, if there's numerous trailers that are already loaded, waiting.
Yeah.
And it really helps my job if we get people, and I can start telling them, hey, I give you a violation this next week's the deal. Get your stuff in the trash off. I won't have to give you a violation.
What is already called that?
School is,
Mid-August?
I think it's mid-August.
So we do it before school starts.
I think we'll make it July 11th.
When?
That's awfully hot.
Yeah, what about the fall? I mean.
Right.
October, November.
Fall, rather? I was thinking fall.
It would be a little
If we do it.
cooler.
What we do is if we, we have lists of teams and, Rachel gets the list together and coordinates it. This would be the best weekend and we coordinate with Ronnie and yes, we'll all good this weekend, that's what we do.
So I guess your answer is, it sounds like we're interested and we want to have it again because it's successful and
I
so.
mean, with the status of COVID and everything where it stands today, I mean, I guess we could typically look for even like I said, mid-July or something from there. In my opinion, there's really not like a perfect time of year to do this, you know what I mean? It's city crews are there, we're working, it really lasts a week. For anybody who doesn't know, if we say that the trash off's gonna tentatively be scheduled on the Saturday, I guess it's Saturday, 11th, is that Saturday?
Yeah.
We'll open our city yard that previous Monday. We'll leave it open Monday through Friday, here 9 to 4, so people can come down from there. Which one, I've got 1 or 2 personnel there, helping unloading, dumpsters, loading stuff from there. It's not so much that it's just, okay, it will last a week and then it's gone. We get so much trash piled up that we end up dealing with it for the next few months.
And I would also highly recommend that the only drawback to doing it in April is rain.
Yeah.
This turns your yard into a muddy pool.
Yeah. Right.
We only had 1 year out of the 21 years that rained us out.
Well, it rains, that's last year.
It was pretty cold that couple of years ago.
That's the other thing too. so.
We had a cold snap.
Yeah, I don't think of any reason why July wouldn't work. Over.
I mean, because even if it's hot, they usually start the first time. It's like 8 to noon, or what is it on that actual Saturday?
On an actual Saturday, it takes 12.
Yeah,
When
so
does school start again this year?
Mid-August.
Yeah.
It's also gonna remind you, come August, Saturdays are football start.
Yeah.
All through November.
no, I think July would be good. That'd be the weekend after
I
the.
thought about actually,
Well,
I heard you say something about what did he say?
Yeah, where you see the
They would still continue pushing it off.
And,
camp,
coordinate.
frame.
If it works out.
Saturday is football game.
Yeah.
Youth football, I got both now, so I'll be looking at both Saturdays. Every Saturday, going to 2 places. But I just think, unfortunately, July is hot.
But it is in the morning. I mean, it's 8 to noon. It's only 90 at noon.
It's still hot.
Yeah. Right.
We got a cold front today.
Yeah.
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 So the end of July, like the 25th.
11th, I think you said. Let's shoot for the 11th.
Make a motion to authorize it to.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if we need a motion. It's more, he just needs, he just wanted our opinion and,
If you put together, if the council said, no, with COVID going on, let's wait until winter time.
because that's the bad thing. If we wait too long in the fall.
So back to date, and then before that date, we'll see where we're going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you still looking to do your river cleanup and such? Okay.
All right.
All right. So, yep, you got your marching orders. We're good with it.
The Boy Scouts or, coordinate with the Boy Scouts.
All righty.
Plan ahead with them.
That was the last thing in regular session. So at 7:41, we will end regular session and go into executive session in accordance with the government code with the authority contained in the Texas Government Code sections 551.071 and 551.072. We are back to at 8:09. What the heck? Oh, check, yeah. At 8:09, we'll come out of executive session and go back into, the regular meeting. And for the items 1, 2, and 3, there is no action for any of those items, so, at this stage, then I'll look for a motion to end this meeting. We have a motion from Mr. Smith. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor? All right, all opposed? Woo, thank y'all very much. Yeah. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he ain't staying here till midnight again. Did I miss it barely? Dang it.